is just fantastic. Captain's log, subdates 210907.1. So, hands up if you like nothing more than to slap the leader of your respective nation in the face. I personally think we should take this idea and mandate it as punishment simply for them existing. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmates number 088, Damien Tarel, to the Cubes, a place where I don't believe he belongs. We'll get to why soon, don't worry. In France, there is an election season fast approaching, and with this the current president, Monsieur Macron, has started to campaign across the country. Meet and greets, shaking hands, looking like he's down with the people. And to do this, Monsieur Macron has to do this in such a way that it resonates with a vast swath of voters. Their voting system will surely help him in the long run. There are other contenders many of you all have heard of. Marine Le Pen is an obvious one. Monsieur Macron, yes, I've intentionally said his name wrong a few times, does not have a very good approval rating. He has, over his many years in office, one term, had many protests to deal with. His handling of, or his involvement in, Brexit and coronavirus are going to work against him, and they will certainly be used against him. On the very first stop that Monsieur Macron made, well, this is where we insert Damien Tarel, because something rather interesting, more the fallout, but the act itself is interesting enough, happened, and it caused enough of a stir that everyone talked about it as if poor Monsieur Macron was a humongous victim and not a snowflake. So according to every article I found covering this subject, Damien Tarel, inmate 088, is a 28-year-old, unemployed, medieval roleplay-loving geek that lives with his mother. These are all important factors, because you could certainly understand why Damien Tarel did what he did if he has suffered from unemployment because of policies Macron introduced, or policies he has allowed to happen while being member of the EU. Depends on your political perspective. Damien Tarel has admitted his political views typically go more towards the right, where he considers himself a patriot, so a Marine Le Pen voter then, but he does make it quite clear that he is not a Nazi, even if he has given a copy of Mein Kampf to a friend, and also for a joke dressed as Hitler, all of which he has dubbed for educational purposes. We learnt about this because of what happened during the trial, so I thought I'd reference it now. To incur the ire of the French, and to humiliate Monsieur Macron, the French president, Damien had to do something quite special. This act would have to be truly heinous, especially if he's going to be spending time in one of these cells. Do you want to see what he did? Of course you do.
But after visiting a local school in the Rhone Valley, the welcome from one man was shockingly hostile. From another angle, you can see his security team bundling the president away as the man is tackled to the floor, shouting, "Down with Macronia."
He slapped Monsieur Macron around the face and said two phrases. Those two phrases were "Montjoy Saint-Denis," which is an old royalist war cry, and "Abat la Macronie," which means "down with Macronia," before swiftly being subdued by those designed, ordered, made, I don't know, to protect Monsieur Macron. The video made me chuckle though, for many different reasons. One, I've seen our own politicians, John Prescott more notably, full-on right-hooking somebody who had the audacity of touching him. That didn't escalate much. The second reason it made me chuckle is because current crop of politicians are incredibly sensitive. That was a small slap. It barely even left a mark, if any at all, on his baby-faced cheeks. Yet it was enough of a slap that he got arrested and then ends up in an ISO cube. Could this appear to be any more of a joke? Now, I personally believe he should not have been arrested. He was doing what anyone else would want. Based on Macron's own approval rating, the vast majority of France would agree. So what do I think should happen to Damien Tarel? He should be honoured and championed, awarded the highest honours in the land. And if he can't get them in France, don't worry, come here, we'll give you a Victoria Cross. Go to America, it's the equivalent to a Medal of Honor. When this went to court, the prosecution tried to portray him as a Nazi, and I'm going to read an exchange just to provide some context. Damien Tarel, I gave that book to my friend who is passionate about World War II, in reference to him giving his friend a copy of Mein Kampf, adding, you can find a photo of me disguised as a communist too. Are you suggesting that I'm a Nazi? To which the magistrate replies, no, I'm asking you questions. I think what we're all hearing is, I'm too much of a bitch to actually look for anything other than a cheap gotcha. To which Tarel replies, it's just funny, the picture of Hitler. It made my friends laugh, even my very left-wing friends. I can't fault the prosecution for how they do it. Their job is to look for any tiny gap and exploit it, but also play optics. It's well within their rights to do that, so as to make him look like an even bigger villain, when really he's a hero. Damien Tarel told the court that he'd actually been planning a protest gesture before the president arrived, saying that in the car when we were waiting, we had planned to do something striking, to challenge him on political matters, to take a yellow vest or a white French flag, but we changed our minds. A few days before we had considered launching an egg or a custard pie, how very British, and that he was motivated to slap the president by a feeling of injustice, saying, I think a lot of people feel this injustice. I felt invested. The prosecutor fundamentally disagreed with this, saying that the gesture is not only a desire to strike, but it is humiliation. He treats his victim like a child, to whom one would like to slap him. He belittles him. Says the person that used the fact that Tarel is unemployed and living on €500 state benefits per month, while occupying his time in the local martial arts club that he manages, and living at home with his mother. Okay, bit ironic, don't you think, prosecutor? And also, slapping a politician, not belittling in the slightest. Did you even see the slap? It was pathetic. If Macron had a Y chromosome, his hand would have balled up and he would have already knocked the guy out. Macron is the quintessential soy boy, blink first type. To be honest, none of this really mattered. The video evidence was damning and was everywhere. There was no version of this where Damien Tarel would not be found guilty. So yes, he was in fact found guilty. And with this comes a sentence. This is the part where I'm going to take another issue. Damien Tarel, inmate 088, for slapping the President of France, a man who would have surely, if he could reach into his pocket fast enough, have pulled out a white flag and surrendered to Damien Tarel, was sentenced to 18 months in prison, 4 months of which he will be incarcerated. The remaining 14 months will be suspended. By the time this video goes out, he should actually be out of prison. But my view is that sentence is far too harsh. By setting such a dangerous example, people won't challenge Macron anyway. And a slap like that? No, everyone should be allowed to slap your president. In fact, I think we should all be allowed to slap Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, Winnie the Pooh. The list, of course, does go on. When they repeatedly cock up and you can't challenge them with words, I'm not saying use violence, but a little love tap on the cheek, it's alright. I'm kidding. I know someone's going to be like, oh, you're encouraging violence. I'm not. I do think, though, the sentence is far too strict for what is, quite frankly, equivalent to somebody applying aftershave to their face. Now, with this case, I'd like to know what you think. I'm sure many of you heard of it. If you haven't, by all means, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Viva la liberté, after all. As a final thing, I shall be streaming on Twitch tonight. If I don't see you there for what will more than likely be murder fun time, I hope you'll have a fantastic day, and thank you all very much for listening.